This is Sean Chiplock, the voice of Reen Schwarzer in Trails of Cold Steel, and you're listening to Kasanova Podcast, the #1 podcast in all of Hawaii, and perhaps one day, Erabonia.
All right, and welcome everyone to another episode of Hawaii's #1 podcast, the #1 podcast in the state of Hawaii, the Kasanova Podcast. I'm your host, Mekel Kasanova, coming at you with another amazing interview, truly amazing. And this one's going to be really special, especially for a lot of you gamer fans out there that are fans of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. This is going to be monumental because today we have the one, the only, Sean Chiplock, who's a voice actor for Revali, the Deku Tree, and Temma from The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, as well as many other characters too. So he's also Reen Schwarzer from Legend of Heroes, Trails of Cold Steel. He's also Navarre in Shin Megami Tensei 4 Apocalypse, as well as also being Yuki Mishima in Persona. And also for you anime fans out there, he's also Daibo in Sword Art Online, Revali in Hunter x Hunter. He's Dante in Mobile Suit Gundam IBO, as well as Iron Blooded Orphans Season 2. And he's also Eyelashes in One Punch Man. So if you are ready to do it, I'm ready to do it. Let's go ahead and introduce this amazing, truly amazing guest onto the show. Let's go.
Got your game planned out to a T. Yeah, I'm 2 steps ahead, yeah.
And welcome everyone to another episode of Hawaii's #1 podcast, the Kasanova Podcast. I'm your host, Mekel Kasanova, and I have the honor and the true privilege of having the one, the only Sean Chiplock on the Kasanova Podcast.
Excuse me? This is my honor. Do you realize you're the closest I've been to Hawaii since I was like 6 years old, okay?
What?
I can already hear the beaches through your dulcet tones, so please, please continue, good sir.
Oh man, it's such an honor to have you on the show. Like, there's so much that you've worked on over the years, man. It's as a fan, this is mind blowing for me that I have the opportunity to have you on the show. So, but please, ignore my rudeness. Go ahead and introduce yourself and plug everything you're working on your social media.
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Sean Chiplock. You may know me online as @SonicMega. It's pretty consistent across my Twitter, my Tumblr, my Hentai Haven account. But no, I don't actually have one of those. But But now they've been saved, maybe I should. Anyway, so I've been a professional voiceover artist for about, I started voiceover at the very beginning of 2007, but my first paid job wasn't until 2009, and I didn't really start doing this full time until around June of 2013. So I've been doing professional voiceover for just over 5.5 years, and yeah, like you said, dude, it's kind of amazing sometimes when I get the chance to sit back and just really look at what I've been able to accomplish in that time. This is a very, very, very stressful industry, and it can be really difficult sometimes to acknowledge what you've accomplished. Just when you look at how many people you're competing with, and just how many different projects come out every year. The voiceover or the video game industry has exploded in the last decade.
It really has, yeah.
And not just simply because of esports. Anime is getting bigger than ever now that more companies are taking it seriously. Western cartoons are continuing to push the boundaries, and there's all these different mediums. So it's there's no worse a time and no better a time to be a part of this industry, because it is even more ruthless than ever before as more and more people have come to recognize voiceover as a performance art. But so many more opportunities to get involved as long as you train yourself and work hard to better yourself as a performer. So I totally went off tangent regarding the question, which was introduce yourself. Hi, I'm Sean. I'm a voiceover artist. I live in California. I like video games. Nowadays, you may hear me in some of the video games. I think that's pretty neat. I plan on doing this for a while.
You know, and that's the thing too, is like you're not only a gamer. I think because you're a gamer, you're in anime, and it's like you are also the voices of characters in anime and gaming. Like that's gotta be mind-blowing, like being able to do that. Like
it's pretty surreal. Like I still remember the first time that my role as Diabel in Sword Art Online. It was only a 1-episode thing. It was in episode 2. But the fact that as someone, because literally, I won't go into the whole story unless you want me to.
Go ahead. All in.
What started me in voiceover was the result of browsing Adult Swim one night while Toonami was airing in the background. It was a repeat of that that evening's episode of Full Metal Alchemist. So the idea that Adult Swim and Toonami led me to discover voiceover, and that I would eventually hear myself on a Toonami broadcast show, it's both inspiring. I imagine it could be inspiring to a lot of people, but it's also super inspiring to me because it's like, yo, you did that. You went from the kid watching the TV screen to being on the TV screen for other people to watch. Who knows? Maybe there's some person who heard you and went, I want to get into voiceover, and you did that for them. So it's very cool to think about on a whole number of different facets.
That's, man, like, you know, that, wow. I can't even imagine being in your shoes, like, just experiencing that journey. That journey had to have been amazing.
Yeah, especially because at the time that I started, I was a Michigan kid. You know, I was living, you know, smack dab in the middle of the Midwest, and there's not... Chicago is well known for commercials and radio, but when you want to talk anime and video games, there's not anything even remotely close in the Midwest that services that kind of portion of the industry. So, you know, for someone like me to move all the way from out there over to the West Coast and then manage to find some success in my career, that was a big deal to me too, because it was that big leap from daydreaming about it to living it. And I'm very proud of the fact that I managed to do that, but I'm definitely not, you know, coasting anytime soon. I want to keep doing more. I want to keep learning more. I think about all the opportunities I haven't even heard of yet because they don't exist that I may get to be a part of, and that's incredibly exciting.
Amazing, man. That's well, you know, as a fan, I'm along for the ride with you. So but yeah, man, tell us, like, about yourself. Like, what are some of the things, like, obviously gaming, you know, voice acting, but what are some of your hobbies and your interests, like things that you like to do?
So my life has always been a track where I typically only have one or two things that I'm focusing on at any given time, but I am wholly focused on them like nonstop until either I burn out or I'm finished with them. Case in point, when I was younger, it was Neopets for sure. When I was in college, there was this site called omgpop.com.
Oh, I remember that.
Right. They're kind of well known now for their Words with Friends game or whatever it's called, but they also had a bunch of mini games, and one of them was called Swapples, and it was this match 3. It was a basic match 3 game that you competed against like up to 7 other people. I was an undisputed king of Swapples because when you did the combo, as long as you matched things within a certain period of time in between each match, there was this chain combo that had this sound effect that would rise in pitch. It'd be like doodle-doo, 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 until it reached like the highest. I would have chains of like 85 matches, and the only reason why you knew... The only reason you knew the game was over was because you would stop hearing that sound effect because I literally ran out of time to keep making matches. And like the second place person would be at like 60,000 points, and then first place would be me with like 285,000. And it was disgusting how good I got at that game. And that was what I did after I got bored of destroying 6-year-olds and 60-year-olds on Webkins, because one of my best friends got me a Webkins for my birthday, and I learned that having a Webkins allowed you to have access to the website, and I got really good at Connect 4. And maybe by really good, I mean like the people I was playing against didn't have the mental cognizance yet to understand the intricacies of Connect 4, but hey, if you're going to challenge me, I will destroy you. Everyone's got to learn at some point in their lives. You know, whether it's Smash Brothers or Connect 4, you're going to get good, and that's because I'm going to make you get good.
Exactly.
So that was back then. I dabbled in Minecraft. That was fun. You know, I had people from a Pokemon chat that liked to play Minecraft, and we, you know, interacted on there. When I moved out early on, when I got my job, my first job when I moved out here after Stanley Security, because my backup job was a call center dispatch, but I don't talk much about that. What I like to talk about is the QA job I had with NIS America, because one of the first games that I QA tested at NIS America was a game called Demon Gaze. And Demon Gaze was a first-person dungeon crawler for the PlayStation Vita, and Demon Gaze introduced me to the world of I'm trying to think. Did I do it too early? No, it introduced me to the world of dungeon crawlers. It and Etrian Odyssey 4. And so
love it.
Yeah,
Odyssey.
I'm trying to remember which came first, because there was this Vegas convention I went to called Las Pegasus, which turned out to be a huge scam. Like, literally, the owners and organizers ran off with the money, and the hotel started kicking people out of their rooms. But before that happened to us, we were killing time in the room, and I was playing the demo of Etrian Odyssey 4. And I fell in love instantly with the skill tree system. I learned now that I spoiled myself on Etrian Odyssey 4, because there's not really many first person dungeon crawlers that are as refined as that game is. I'm still looking for a great skill tree based modern dungeon crawler RPG, and I haven't found one yet. So if anyone's listening to this and you got recommendations, tweet me at Sonic Mega. Please, I need a new addiction. Anyway,
The Lost Child. Have you played it?
The Lost Child?
Yeah, from NIS.
I'll look it up now.
I'm glad you brought up NIS America. I actually have a very, very good relationship. I review games for them. And I'm actually going to be interviewing some of the staff later on this week. So shout out to Aaron Kim from NIS America. Thank you so much. They actually helped me get into video game journalism and reviewing, because they actually sent me ES 8 Lacrimosa of Donna. It was my first game I ever got a review code for.
It is because of them that I do not think I would have ever started playing PlayStation Vita or PlayStation games if it hadn't been for NIS, because through my time there as a QA tester, I discovered so many games that I'm such a huge fan of, whether it's Demon Gaze, whether it was Criminal Girls, which, man, I could talk for hours about Criminal Girls and why it is an underrated, underappreciated game. Yeah, but they have a lot of passionate people on their team, and it just so happened that as a voiceover artist, I got to stay involved with them through voicing things like Hummel in ES 8, through voicing Kiyotaka Ishimaru in Danganronpa, through voicing Ozma, Gruda, and Leo in East Memories of Celceta, and there are still other ways that I stay involved with them that I think people should be on the lookout for.
Definitely, man, definitely. You just listed off every game that my wife is a massive fan of. Her first ES game was ES 8, which she didn't start playing that until the Nintendo Switch version dropped last year.
Right.
But since she's got that, she went out and got every ES game on Steam.
Right.
So she's like, I love this series.
I really like how cutthroat the East series is, where it's like, hey, you want to take on these giant monsters? You better know how to actually battle them. No, we're not gonna let you full restore yourself like you can with your Pokemon 50 times. Get good or get dead.
Right? Oh man.
Let us tell you, we put an awful lot of work into those death animations, and you're gonna see them unless you learn how to play.
This is the thing I really love about ES. Like, it's exactly like you said. It's one of those games where you have to get good. If you're gonna play it, you have to. And I had a lot of people, which is actually funny. A lot of the Nintendo gamers, or Nintendo.
I just thought of the best catchphrase for the franchise.
Go for it.
Remember, folks, it's pronounced Ease, not easy.
So true. So true.
I want a writing credit.
Go for it.
Anyway, as you were saying before I so rudely interrupted with my genius.
Hey, NIS America, I think you guys need to give him some royalties for that, because that's going to be, Ease 9, when that drops this year, they're going to use that tagline. So royalties to Sean for that.
Right. So what were you saying again?
So basically, when Ease 8, when it was released and announced for the Nintendo Switch, a lot of the Nintendo YouTubers that I know and I work with, they reached out to me, and well, not really they reached out to me. Well, they were talking, because we're all in this, communication. They were like,
right.
Oh, I've never heard of this series. Like, what is this like? Is it like Monster Hunter? Is it like, what else did they compare it to? I think they compared it to, what is it, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and I'm like, no.
There you go.
I'm like, it's not like either of those. Like, it's a game that requires a lot of skill. They're like, oh, this is new, right? Well, if it's a new series, then why is this the 8th entry? I'm like, it's not new.
NIS has been really good about taking these niche franchises and like doing their best to. I'm not sure how to describe it. They take niche franchises, but they don't treat them like niche franchises. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like Under Night in Birth is pretty well known now in the fighting game community, but at the time that I was playtesting it, I had never heard of it before, and it seemed, compared to stuff like Blaze Blue, it wasn't really a big thing. But now, I would venture to say that a decent number of people, even if they don't know what the game is like, they have heard of Under Night in Birth, and they would probably be led to ask, well, what is that about anyway? Which is still a huge step up from, nah, I've never heard of that before. Right. And they've done that with all kinds of games that they publish. Obviously, Disgaea was already really well known, but I would still say it's more well known now than it used to be. Yomawari, had its own thing. Demon Gaze got a sequel. Yep. They've been and they do it both through consistent marketing as well as offering really good limited editions.
Yeah.
Like, I would credit them a major part of helping Toho become recognized in the West. Toho was already big for its mainline games, but God, they have gone all in on publishing these games in the West. The Mystery Dungeon game, yep. The 3D bullet hell shooter game that they did, the just packaging it with these soundtracks and these art books. There are many games that I still have not played yet, but I ordered them because it came with an art book and I wanted to just, hopefully get some director commentary. So kudos to them, man. Toho is a Western mainstay at this point, and they have done their part in contributing towards that.
They really have. They actually sent me a care package as a thank you for like all the reviews and stuff I've done for their games, and they sent me Toho and with a special letter like saying thank you and whatnot. I'm like, this game was so good. I had a lot of people like asking me like, what is that? I'm like, no, you're not asking what that is. Go buy it right now. It's that good. They're like, what's it about? Don't even worry. Just buy it and play it.
Right. That's like asking for the movie summary before you go see it. Just play it. Like,
right? And I'm so glad you brought up Under Night in Birth. My goodness, is that a good game?
I was not able. I did end up turning on like invincibility when I was QA testing it, or like giving myself insane amounts of health. I'm not very good at the 2D scrolling fighters like Street Fighter, so Under Night in Birth, my experience with it is limited. But I will tell you that soundtrack is banging.
Oh my goodness, it is. It really is.
Whenever that music comes on my iPod, it's got my arms flailing out the window like that noodle demon.
Oh man! See?
Yay! Under Night in Birth music! Yay! I'm like a demonic Kermit the Frog,
Right. You see, and people listening and watching probably are like, "Oh, this is not a traditional interview." I'm like, "No, it's not." Oh man, so I gotta ask you, like, what got you, into gaming and passionate about gaming?
Well, this is kind of a very anticlimactic answer, but what got me into gaming was the fact that I've always been playing video games. And voiceover kind of, is this a PG-13 podcast?
Man, you can say whatever you want to. This is
okay.
Yeah.
Voiceover saved my ass, because if it hadn't been for voiceover, I would have been a college graduate who played a lot of video games. And you know what? Actually, maybe I should curse voiceover, because maybe that would have like led me down the path of Let's Plays and streaming, and man, there's a lot of money there. So those of you who want to get into voiceover to make money, don't. Just do Let's Plays instead. I promise. You'll make way more. You will make way more once you build a following than you will being a performer, and it's way less stressful, and you actually have time for video games. So, yeah. But yeah, like even when I was young, I somehow managed to play all of the games that nobody remembers. Like, everyone knows Bomberman 64, but no one knows about Bomberman 64: The Second Attack, which was my favorite game. Everyone knows about Secret of Mana, but nobody knows about Legend of Mana, which was one of my favorite video games. Everyone loves Jade Cocoon 1, and everyone despises Jade Cocoon 2, which I have played through to completion on 4 separate occasions, and I've owned the game 5 separate times. So, yeah, the story behind that is I lost the first copy. The second copy was broken, and it was from eBay, so I should have seen that coming. The third copy, I started playing and then stopped playing, but I didn't finish it yet. So by the time I realized, hey, I should finish it, I couldn't find it again. So I ordered the 4th copy, and then I forgot I owned the 4th copy and ordered a 5th copy. So now I have 2 copies of Jade Cocoon 2 sitting in my house. No, I can't tell you which one I actually played, but I promise you I know where both of them are, so I won't be ordering a 6th copy. But at least once every 3 to 4 years I go, man, I really miss Jade Cocoon 2. And I bring up the guide that I wrote on it, where I've outlined every single member of my team and what order I teach them what moves, and then I spend about 2 weeks, because it is a long game to play. I spend about 2 weeks playing through it, and I get a team that's so good that I end up beating the true arena final boss before I've even made them into the final team, and I go, what now? And then the cycle starts anew.
Oh man, like I like that you brought up Jade Cocoon 2 and Legend of Mana. There's so many games that I feel like if they don't have that notoriety or the popularity, a lot of people, which I think you and I are from the same generation, like we grew up, yeah, we had the Game Pro magazines and all that, but still we had to actually try the games.
You know what it is? I think it's because we were young enough that our parents were like, we know we need to buy him video games. Oh, here's the newest iteration of this game. Right. So when we were growing up was when a lot of these transition games were coming out that, you know, they either happened very close to the end of certain consoles' lifespans, or it was just early on that they hadn't been cemented into the more modern releases that people know more of, you know. I'm trying to think of the example that you brought up. I picked all the ones that don't really exist anymore, you know, Secret of Mana, Legend of Mana. But I imagine Dragon... Oh, here's a perfect example. Sorry, I'm like running my throat dry.
No worries.
Everyone knows Dragon Quest 11. The new... I think Dragon Quest 11 was the one that just came out, right?
Yeah.
Okay, it did really well in the West. It was really popular, and many people still talk about Dragon Quest 8 and everything else. But you talk to me about the Dragon Quest series, I'm going to talk to you about Dragon Warrior Monsters. The Game Boy Color game that was Pokemon-esque, but had like the fusion mechanics from like Shin Megami Tensei, where you battled using a monster team. And there were only 2 versions. There was Dragon Quest Monsters, there was Dragon Quest Monsters 2, Terra's Journey or something like that. There were 2 different versions. And I think they tried to hit it with Dragon Quest Joker, but they didn't really, because that was a little bit different. Because I think in Dragon Quest Joker, do you also fight? I don't remember. I don't know.
Dragon Quest Joker, you do. Yes.
Okay, so that's not true monster raising. You are, well, I don't know. That's a lie because I bought Tales of Symphonia 2 I bought Fantasy Life for no other reason than because it showed you battling alongside one of your pets in the trailer. I never played it, but I bought it because I saw that you could battle with your pets. So I'm lying if I say I'll never buy a game or I won't buy a monster raising game if you also battle. Moving on from that. So it is well known, or if it isn't well known, it will be well known, that part of why I want to get into voiceover and why I will become a great voiceover artist is because I want to become rich enough to single-handedly pay Nintendo to localize Terry's Wonderland.
Oh.
The 3DS remake of Dragon Quest Monsters that only released in Japan and not in the US because I figure they probably thought, oh, this isn't well known enough, or people don't care about the franchise enough. Well, you were wrong about Fire Emblem, and you're wrong about this one, Nintendo.
I mean, they still haven't given us Mother 3, so...
I think at this point, so here's what they're doing. They're holding on to it until they need it to sell a console. Because Wii U couldn't handle GameCube games, and Switch is doing well enough on its own, so they're not going to publish GameCube games for the Switch. So we need to wait for the next home console, wait for it to not do as well as Nintendo wanted, then they'll go, by the way, GameCube Virtual Console games, boom, instant hit.
So
like
true.
hotcakes. It's gonna become the GameCube replacement console. And everyone's gonna say, "Don't buy it for the first party games. Buy it for Super Mario Sunshine, so you can buy it for the 12th time." Same with Mario Land 3 for the 50th time. And then they're gonna wait for a handheld console that isn't doing well, and they're gonna put Mother 3 on that.
Yeah. Because it's like, how many times are they gonna put what's his name? Lucas? That's his name?
Yeah, Lucas he's from Mother 3.
Yeah, so like, how many times are you gonna keep putting him in Smash and put his stage in Smash, but you're not gonna put the game? You're not gonna
PK Purgatory!
Right? It's like, okay, like, and if anything, I'm like, can we get like more of the Mother series, like, updated? Or
I just watched a very interesting 25-minute documentary on the F-Zero series and the fact that Captain Falcon has become more of a Smash character than he has an F-Zero character.
I think I saw that documentary. It's recent, yeah?
I think it was, I'm still, let me open the door to my closet. Literally, that's how recently I watched it. Yes, November 26th, 2018.
Yeah.
Oh my god, November was not that far away. I'm like, yeah, so about a year ago.
It's, and that's the thing too, like, I noticed there's a lot of games where you have characters that are just more famous than their franchises. And I had a conversation with a friend the other day, and he's like, man, I wish Konami would bring back some of their older franchises. And I'm thinking, okay, so what do you have in mind? He's like, oh, I wish we get a new Castlevania, a new Contra.
Be careful what you wish for. There are still pachinko machines.
So I told him, I was like, oh, okay. I said, so if Konami brings back a classic franchise, I want them to bring back Goemon and Mystical Ninja. And he's like, what's that? It's like, are you serious?
Which company owns Klonoa? Is that Namco or is that Konami?
Konami, I believe.
Bring back Klonoa.
I believe it's Konami. Wait, I could be wrong. It could be Namco.
Might be Namco.
Let me double check.
Google it. Da-na-na-na-na. So for those of you who wish to follow me, again, my Twitter is @SonicMega, where I specialize in stalling for time during podcasts, sharing stuff that makes me laugh or makes me cry, stalling for time during podcasts, posting funny audio clips on Tumblr. Did I mention I also stall for time by sharing things that make me laugh and cry on my Tumblr? I might have covered that already. Do we have an answer yet? I'm kind of running...
It's
okay.
Namco.
Wow. I totally derailed that entire topic for absolutely no good reason. I still want Klonoa back, but, Konami, buy Klonoa from Namco and then publish more of them.
Seriously, like, Klonoa is such a great classics franchise, and it's like, They got there were two of them that came, I believe, the original on the PlayStation, and the PlayStation 2 had the sequel.
Sort of Phantomail or something like that?
Yeah, and then they had I think 2 of them on Game Boy Advance.
They ran one of them at AGDQ this past week.
Oh, really?
They did. It was at like 2:20 in the morning, but the VOD is going to be up anytime soon, and I'm definitely going to watch it.
Wow.
And go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was probably going to say the same thing you were going to say.
There is interest for games featuring those types of characters. Sola Tarobo is a niche game that did really well for, the market that it was published out in, and Dust and Elysian Tale did really well. So you can't really make the argument that, like, oh, it's featuring an anthro character, people don't like that. We all grew up on those!
Right? Oh, man. I feel like we could just do a whole podcast just on gaming and gaming history with what we grew up with.
I'm telling you right now, man, if you manage to get me invited to a Hawaii convention, I will take you out for drinks. We will come back completely blasted off our asses, and I will introduce you to the world of Jin Cocoon 2.
Oh, man. Okay, so speaking of conventions, are you going to be at the Amazing Comic Con that we're having in April? If not, then I can reach out to someone to talk to you.
Right now, the only one that I have on the books as a guest is one coming up in March. I don't know if I can formally announce it yet, so the hint I'm giving people is, one, it's not a new convention. I've been there before, and it's in Michigan. So if you are a Michigan or a Midwest native and you know of March conventions that you want to go to, chances are that's the one I'm going to be going to. Or just stay tuned to my Twitter, because I always update that when I'm allowed to announce things. Other than that, definitely going to Anime Expo this coming July. Probably going to be at BLFC, Biggest Little FurCon in May, because a game that I voice in called Winds of Change releases this September. And I know that the creator, Clace, has been very diligent about marketing it at every given opportunity. So he'll probably be there. He's probably going to ask me to come along, and I will more than happily do that to help him pitch his game. So those are the main 3 right now that I know of.
Okay, well, if that's the case, I can get you that contact information probably later on this week, if that works. If you would like to come out to Hawaii,
I would love to. Oh my goodness. I love Hawaii for many different reasons, but one of my favorite memories was when we ate at this oceanside cafe, and they had this chef on hand doing a make-your-own omelet station, and in the same way that the Midwest has spoiled me because no one else makes better chili cheese fries than the Midwest, I have yet to find anyone who makes make-your-own omelets as well as that chef did. I swear to God, I ate 7, and then my family cut me off not because I was full, but because they were concerned that they were going to get in trouble for, like, overstaying our welcome. I ate so many goddamn omelets.
Well, we definitely got to get you back out here, man. It's if we do, drinks on me. There's so many. Oh my goodness, man! There's so many food places like in the vicinity of where I live.
Oh my God!
Oh,
I am such a foodie. You have no idea. It's almost a flaw of mine because I only understand how to build friendships through food. So it's like, hey, we should hang out sometime. And I'm like, yeah, it's been a while since I've been to Curry House. And they're like, no, I thought we'd go see a movie. I'm like, oh yeah, I could go for some popcorn. Food is it's how you speak to me, man.
No, because 2 of my friends are coming out here. You probably know them, Bonnie Gordon, and because she's what is she? The voice of Armika in Street Fighter V, and
yeah,
Gerald. Oh, go ahead.
Who was the other one? Joe who?
Gerald Rivers, the voice of Bison.
That's right. I didn't know about Bonnie. Daryl, I'd only heard him in passing, but yes, I'm familiar with those names.
Yeah, so like they're gonna be coming out here for a convention, and the first thing they were like, take me to the food spots. Like, I was like, okay.
That's actually a thing I do. This is even more incentive to get the conventions to invite me. I have this event I hold called Dine and Discuss. And it's one of my personal panels, and I really sell this is because I try to give back to the community, because audiences are what allow my career to exist in the first place. If game companies didn't If they thought they could get away with just publishing games without any voices whatsoever, they would do that. It would help save on costs. So I try to show my appreciation for these audiences that make my career possible. So Dine and Discuss is, I will usually do a raffle system for anyone who attends my panels, and it's like if you come to one of my panels, you get a ticket and you get entered into a raffle to be selected. And I'll take between like 5 to 10 people, usually on the second to last day of the convention, on like Saturday night, and I tell them, I am outside of my hometown right now. This is your chance to showcase to me a food place or a go-to restaurant or whatever, a shindig that defines this town or this area or this state. And I have them take me to this food place, and I pay for everyone's meals, and we have an impromptu Q&A. It's kind of like a general Q&A panel, except you get to eat, you get to drink, you get to have fun, super casual, and I have never not had a blast when doing one of those. And I've had some great food as a result of it. When I went to Utah, they took me to this barbecue place. Oh my God, the burnt ends brisket.
Oh. I was just in Utah like a couple months back. I went there. Oh my God, that was good. Oh.
So it's as much for me as it is for those guys. If I have to pay for 5 people's meals to get some beautifully cooked burnt end brisket, that's a deal on me. Y'all got scammed, okay?
Man, okay. So let's see. What kind of foods do you like?
Oh man, I like food. When I like pizza rolls, I like spicy food, I like seafood, I like dairy. Fun fact, the 3 things that work the worst with my digestive system are dairy, seafood, and spicy things. God, what don't I like? I have learned that I hate processed cheese, and I have to be very specific because people have called me out on this. When I say I hate melted cheese, I don't mean, oh, I can't eat pizza, oh, I can't eat, melted Swiss. I learned that I need to clarify. I hate processed Kraft singles that are melted. And then people are like, oh, that makes sense, because it wasn't until like 5 years ago that I learned that they are called cheese product or something like that. Like, they only have to have a percentage of cheese in them, and that's just disgusting. I feel gross just even saying that. But so, God, like, that is a question that is too wide for me to answer, because I love subs from Quiznos subs. I used to get their BLTs with the bacon bits all the time. Again, I eat I'll treat myself to curry house. I love Indian and Japanese curry. When I filed my taxes last year, I had an Indian curry plate that was so hot, I actually sent my digestive system into shock. Oh, wow. And I sat on the best way I can describe it is I did not have the ability to do anything else but sit for 8 hours. And it wasn't because I was in pain. It wasn't because I was in pain. It was because so much of my body's energy was being centered on my stomach to process what I had just consumed. I did not have the energy to move, to go anywhere else. I wasn't sick. I was just awake and comatose.
Oh, God. Oh, my goodness.
I was the closest to being naturally stoned that I can describe, because we came home from eating, my wife and I sat on the couch. 6 hours later, I came to, and she was like, you just sat there and did nothing while I played games. And I was like, was I asleep? She went, no, you were wide awake.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, that sounds like the situation when I had Ghost, what was it, the Chili Reaper, Ghost Reaper pepper?
Oh, yep, Ghost pepper.
That for the first time, and I told the place I went to, I said, oh, just put a little on there. And that person liberally put a whole lot. I paid for that for 2 days.
See, that's why it came as a surprise, because I've eaten at like Thai spicy food places where I asked for it spicy, and then it ended up asking for like one of those condiment jars that has like the super spicy stuff because I wasn't feeling it. But I probably should have noticed that something was off when I told the Indian waiter that I wanted it very spicy, and his response was, are you sure?
They always do that.
I should have really noticed that something was off when I said, yeah, of course, man, I love spicy stuff. And his response to that was, are you sure?
Oh, man. Okay, so from all the foods that you've listed as you like, okay, I'll run through them. If you like pizza, we've got 2 places out here that are really good, and I'll highly recommend them to you. There's Brick Oven Pizza Oahu, which is out at the it's out in Kapolei. Amazing pizza. It's just
I want to go to one of those hog roasts, man. Like,
dude, if you do, I'll take you.
See, I'm not too sheltered. I've had the good stuff. Our family went to a legitimate hog roast. It was like in this gala, this park area. There was a 2-hour lead up to it, and then they had the hog on display as it was being roasted, and it came with like the Hawaiian sweet potatoes and stuff like that. It had everything.
Yep, I'll definitely take you to one of the luau's out here, man. You will love it. Like, whatever food you like, trust me, my wife and I, we know the spot to take you.
I want to eat hog that has been roasted by the flames held by belly dancers. Like, I want authentic.
Okay, so I'm definitely, I've got a lot of places in mind. When you come out here, I got you. Just know that.
I love you already.
All right. The audience is probably like, when are we gonna get to the voice?
I feel bad because I keep talking over you. Like, you start to say something and then I take it off on a different tangent. So first of all, I apologize. I'll be better about that going forward.
Dude,
but
don't worry about it, man. The Kasanova podcast, we just go organic with whatever the topic is, whatever we're talking about, we go with it. That's something that I. Like, okay, I'll break it down like this. Like, I've watched a lot of other people do podcasts and do interviews, and it just feels robotic or a little stiff, you know? Right. So I try to make it as natural and organic as possible because I'm like, I want to be able to sit back and listen to my own thing and be like, hey, that was fucking good. So you know, that's the method that I try to go about it. Like, I want it to be like, okay, there's other podcasts, and then there's this one. Which one do you want to listen to?
Yeah, I get you. I understand.
So don't worry about it, man. If a thought comes and you want to say something, just jump in, man. I don't mind.
Usually saying thoughts that come to mind is what gets me in trouble, but we'll see where this goes.
We got the same problem. My wife's like, did you process that? No. Before it got to my brain to process, it came out of my mouth. So I'm sorry.
My wife. I love her. My wife is like, you're lucky that you are married to me because I have learned to understand how you think. Because what will happen is, you know how you'll have those trains of thought where, like, you know, you'll start thinking about the heat death of the universe, and you'll end up, you know, jumping thoughts until eventually in your brain you're thinking about, I wonder if birds have, like, snack preferences, you know? Right? And what happens is, and this is just using an example, what happens is, in my head, I will start with the heat death of the universe, and then but what comes out of my mouth is, I wonder if birds can tell the difference between Flaming Hot and regular Cheetos. And she will just turn... She will turn and look, or like if they can tell the difference between Cheetos and Cheese Puffs, and if they have a preference. And she'll look at me and she'll go, all right, what led to that? Like...
Does your wife... Okay, so my wife does this. She'll look at me and just raise her eyebrow. And she's like, I don't even have to say anything. I'm like, yeah, I know.
It's half because she like really wants to know what got me to there in the first place. But half of it is because she knows me well enough to know that whatever path he took to get there, I want in on this. So, like, it'll usually end up being its own story, but... It's amazing. It's amazing how much of me she has adapted to. Sorry, let me correct that. It's amazing how much of me she has tolerated.
I laugh because that's exactly how I think when it comes to my wife. She's put up with so much with me. She's like, yeah, that's just Mekel being Mekel.
One of the funniest inside jokes that has ever happened, because our relationship was founded on inside jokes between us. Mm-hmm. We were walking in front of a Home Depot one day, and there is this. I'm just looking around, and I see this bird out of the corner of my eye. This bird had this distinct color contrast. It was all black except for its beak, which was this bright orange. And it's kind of like, you know how like there's those snapdragon plants or whatever they are that kind of like have that they're very thin and they have blue at the base of the plant, but then the sharp point is this very vivid orange. Yeah, that was this bird, and I got her attention. I said, AJ, look at that bird. That's so cool. It's all black, but it's got that orange beak. And she looks at it, she leans forward, and then she sighs. And she looks at me and she goes, Sean, that's a crow with a Cheeto in its mouth.
Oh my God. I've had those moments too. Don't feel bad.
So now, and it was, so now whenever we're trying to downplay, something that we're talking about, or be like, no, it's just a very dressed up replica, we'll be like, no, Sean, or no, AJ, that's not In-N-Out, that's Ronald McDonald with a Cheeto. When something is way more basic than it appears, that's the new inside joke, and it's one of my favorites to this day.
Oh man! For our wives that are listening, we love you. Thank you for putting up with us.
That's not the Kasanova podcast. That's just Red Letter Media with the Cheeto. I was trying to think like which podcast or which other performance group can I mention that's known enough that people will know what I'm talking about, but isn't likely to sue me. Red Letter Media is great. My favorite part of Red Letter Media is when they spend 7 hours talking about why George Lucas is the worst filmmaker of all time. So that is what Plinkett sounds like. I love. So, in all seriousness, all the love to Red Letter Media. Check out their stuff. Half in the Bag is one of the funniest review shows I've ever watched. Don't sue me, please.
Do not sue him, okay? Okay?
I'm going to have to show up holding a Cheeto and just hope it looks like I dressed for the occasion.
Oh, man, I don't even know where we are in the podcast. I'm having too much fun. Oh, okay. Oh yeah, the voice acting stuff. Okay.
Oh yeah, right, that. Yeah.
Okay, so you've been able to portray so many amazing characters over the years, from Navarre, from Shin Megami Tensei 4 Final, and the original one as well, I believe, right?
Yeah, and honestly, when you bring up those characters, and a lot of it feels like dumb luck. Like, I won't go too far into it, but, like, Navarre happened because the original actor wasn't able to reprise his role, which was Liam O'Brien, I believe. I'm trying to think of the other... Revali. Revali almost never happened, because originally I was only cast as the Great Deku Tree, and it so happened during production that the director was like, hey, we're still having trouble casting for this character Revali, would you like to do reads for him? And I said, hell yeah. And that's how that happened. And then Temma happened as a result of that, because they said, well, would you be able to voice this other Rito but make it a distinct character voice? So if I hadn't booked Great Deku Tree in the first place, Revali would have never happened. So I just thought it was funny that you brought up those two characters, because both of them were examples of, I say all the time, preparation plus opportunity equals success, and that was absolutely a case of luck and opportunity rearing its head, and me being prepared enough to capitalize on it.
Exactly. That's how it works. And I've got to ask you, so how'd you get Future Trunks from Dragon Ball Super?
Okay, so I'm going to take this in a different direction than you were expecting, and I need you to forgive me for this, but Future Trunks is actually a bit of a sore spot for me, and I am proud of the work I did. I'm proud I'm a part of the franchise, but I would not be upset if people just stopped talking about it, and here's why. One, it came about because of what feels like office politics. Like, it was a dub that was done by Bang Zoom, and it was because Bang Zoom secured the rights to the India East Asia dub of Dragon Ball Super. So, yes, it was a dub, it was legitimate, it aired in Asia, but it only ever aired in East Asia. And it really surprises me that people talk about the Dragon Ball Super East Asia dub when the one that 90% of people in the United States would have heard is the quote-unquote official Funimation dub. And it led to it led to some soreness. Like, there were a number of actors from the Funimation dub that were really not happy with all the marketing that actors from the East Asia dub were doing, because it was causing confusion. It was, oh, well, who voices who? You know, is it Eric Vale or is it Sean Chiplock? And I appreciate the long-running legacy of Dragon Ball, not just Dragon Ball Super. So I completely empathize with actors who have been playing these characters for over a decade, not wanting fans to be confused, thinking they got replaced, or just the general confusion that comes with there being two different dubs. So, and furthermore, my involvement as Future Trunks was 3 lines, not even 3 lines. It was Die Frieza, a charge-up yell, and hurling my attack. And that's all the lines I ever did as Future Trunks. So, with that considered, with the level of involvement considered, with the dubious, mysterious, I say dubious, I probably chose the wrong words, with the unknown circumstances behind what led to the second version of a dub, I feel like I'm doing a disservice to the Funimation actors, and I'm doing a disservice to the fans if I continue to tout, yes, I was Future Trunks in Dragon Ball Super. Maybe if it had gone on longer and I'd had more sessions, sure. But as it is, I really wouldn't mind if that just kind of dissipated and I talked more about stuff like ReZero, like Breath of the Wild, like Persona 5. So I'm sorry to nip that in the bud, but I feel like it's a wasted topic to talk about Dragon Ball Super just because there's so little that happened, and it's a weird place for me. It's weird.
No, there's no problem at all. Like, honestly, I didn't know any, like, because I went on to IMDb when I was looking at other performances for you, and I saw that, and I was like, oh, cool. It flabbergasts me because every time people do interviews, that's why I was actually, when I was looking through the interview question, I was like, oh, thank God he didn't bring up Dragon Ball Super. Or maybe I just happened to skip over it. Every time that people are like, you may have heard him in things like Breath of the Wild and Dragon Ball Super. What? Persona 5! ReZero! Friggin' East Lacrimosa of Donna! That literally came out for Switch like 6 months ago. Why are you bringing up a project that's 2 years old? Oh, okay. But my apologies. I didn't even know all the backstory of that. And that's...
I feel bad because I probably just blew out everyone's speakers doing that. So I'm going to turn down the volume a bit.
Oh, no, it's fine. We can skip over to another one. Okay, so Ease 8, Lacrimosa of Donna, which you're Hummel, which is one of my wife's favorite characters. And you're also in Fairy Fencer F, Advent Dark Forces, which I'm actually, my wife and I we got a review code for the Switch version, so we're reviewing that for the first time. And you're Zinc in that game. Oh,
man. Zinc is very, very near and dear to my heart. Zinc was, okay, when I got into voiceover, I idolized 3 certain people. I idolized Kari Walgren for her range, and they're great for various reasons. I'm just pinpointing the specific part that I idolized the most. So I idolized Kari Walgren for her range, being Rain Sage in Tales of Symphonia, Saya in Blood Plus, her work on Rick and Morty that she's done. I idolized Liam O'Brien for his intensity, his ability to play roles like Dist the Rose in Tales of the Abyss, his role as that book in the Nier. I think it was a regular...
was it Grimoire?
Grimoire Vice. Grimoire Vice. And just how he does a lot of villains. He plays them super well, and he's able to go crazy super well. And of course, you know, Steve Bloom's, you know, honesty, his down-to-earthness, his ability to interact with fans. And I said, if I could embody all 3 of those traits in my performances and how I conduct myself, there wouldn't be a single week that I go without work. Zinc was the first occasion where I was truly allowed to just go for it, where the crazier I went, the more bloodthirsty I sounded, the wider my eyes were open when I had his moments of just really going all in. The more the director loved it, the better it sounded. It was just pure fun all around. And I cherish it for that reason. In fact, until this year, or until the end of last year, there wasn't a role that I felt really surpassed Zinc in terms of how true to me the performance was. Like, where I wasn't forcing a voice, I wasn't hamming something up, I was just a character. I was that character. So I cherish Zinc for that reason.
Cool, man. And I'm excited to get to experience your portrayal of Zinc, because this is actually my first. I know the game has been out for, I believe, a year and a half, 2 years. I keep forgetting it's 2019. I keep wanting to say 2018. I have not adjusted yet.
now I'm thinking of all the times I signed in or signed contracts in the last couple of weeks where I wrote 2018 instead of 19.
But I'm definitely looking forward to your portrayal of Zinc, and I really, you know, my wife Lehua and I, we really enjoyed your portrayal of Hummel. Like, that was really
Hummel good. Scared the crap out of me because, oh my god, the first time, as you know, I don't know if you know, but they actually re-recorded a lot of ES memory, Lacrimosa of Donna because of some translation issues.
Yeah.
The first time that I recorded for Hummel, I actually was a little bit sick. And my voice had this graveliness to it. And as a result of recording for him, I actually lost my voice for almost 2 weeks. But here's the thing. It worked because the gravel that my throat had from being sore gave him that kind of, you know, that hard, you know, I can't do it now because my throat is worn out, but it gave him that kind of gritty, you know, edgy character type. But because it was happening naturally, I didn't have to put my voice in a certain place to make it happen. So I was able to sound younger, you know, so like someone in their early to mid 20s, and I still had that Steve Bloom rasp, and he sounded so badass. So when NIS reached out and they said, we're going to be doing re-recordings for Lacrimosa of Donna, we need you to come back in as Hummel, I wrote to them, awesome, can't wait to see you guys. I thought to myself, shit! Because one of the first things that you learn in voiceover is don't do a voice in your auditions that you can't replicate in the booth. That's why they tell you don't record while you're sick, because you have a certain vocal quality when you're sick. If you can't recreate that on the fly when you're healthy and in the booth, you're going to tick off the clients, you're going to misrepresent yourself in your agency, you're going to get yourself in big trouble. Well, I had kind of let them know that I was sick the first time around. They said, we'll see what happens, and they ended up liking what they heard. So the fact that I was going to come back and I couldn't really get myself sick the same way that I was the first time around, I was like, I'm not going to be able to do it. He's not gonna sound as cool. He's not gonna sound as good. What do I do? Now I was scared, Kermit the Frog Demon. I'm gonna come in. They're gonna be like, "This isn't Hummel. This is just Shadow the Hedgehog with a Cheeto."
You went there.
The callbacks. The callbacks. So I am proud of myself for pulling it off. I'm proud that I had learned enough to be able to find that character in Hummel, but I was scared, man. I was so terrified.
Oh man, you did a bang up job. I actually heard the original dub and the newer one, so either way, you did great. You did really good. Like, and that's the other thing too. I wanted to ask, like, for you, like when you're selected for a role in a game, like, what is the process for you to portray them and get into the mind of the character? Like, are you when you're doing voices, are you doing like method acting? Or?
I am very much a method actor. When I recorded for Gruda in East Memories of Celceta, he was described as kind of like like a brainiac. He was, someone who thought he was well-versed, well-read, and knows everything about the world and knows everything about the protagonist. And my recent copy I had ordered of Hyrule Historia had just come in. So I actually brought it in with me to the booth, and I held it open in my left hand while gesturing with my right. I liken it to doing like the win pose of Robin from Smash Brothers when he wins a match, and that's how I kind of embodied that brainiac character role. When there was a project that I had to do for a game where the character is well known for being a part of, I'm trying to think of, I can't talk about it yet, so I'm trying to be as vague as possible. Okay, here's what I'll say. I posed the way that character would pose if he were in previous iterations of the franchise. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense. Hey, people, for those of you wondering why he's speaking like that, it's called an NDA.
Yes, my favorite project, the one I'm casting all the time, is called NDA. Voiceover, the voiceover industry has these things called non-disclosure agreements, and it's agreement between you and the company that says, hey, we're about to show you some pretty cool stuff. A lot of it is still in development, and we'd really appreciate if you didn't talk about it to the public. It could be for a number of reasons. Maybe it's not as polished as we want it to be, and we don't want people to get the wrong idea about the quality of the game. It could be because we're planning on releasing the news at a very specific part to our stakeholders so that we'll make a lot of money or get a lot of investment. Or maybe it's because, we don't have confirmation if this game or show is coming out yet, and we don't want you to get people's hopes up and say, hey, I'm in Kingdom Hearts 3, and then we end up canceling it, and now people are angry and want our heads on a pike. So this agreement says, and no, this wasn't me saying I'm in Kingdom Hearts 3. I was just throwing an example out there. But it's basically them saying, so you sign this, we'll show you this stuff, and then if you later go on and reveal this before we're ready, we'll sue your ass off and make back the money that we would have made if you hadn't ruined it for us through your wallet. So if you value your career, your house, your wife, everything, don't talk, okay? And I'm like, I'm ready to perform now.
Yeah, it's so funny because I think I told you before we even started the podcast. I think we were chatting on Skype, and like the whole thing with Kingdom Hearts 3, everybody has been hounding me like, "What's in it? Where's the story going?" And I'm like, I can't say anything. They're like, "Come on, man, just give me a sneak." Nope.
Just one thing.
Nope. I signed an NDA. I will not have Square Enix and Disney after my ass.
Here's how big that problem is. You can sign it, like this was part of what led to the SAG-AFTRA strike a couple years ago. Even when we sign an NDA, sometimes the companies are still so scared about certain info going public that they will still codename stuff. Based on the strike, a big part of the argument that they made was, we want to be able to know if this is going to be for a latest installment of a huge franchise so that we can negotiate the pay accordingly. And they won the right to know like the code name of the project, but that may not, if I get auditions for a project that's labeled, 02 Griffin, that doesn't tell me anything about what it's actually for. And so even after you sign these NDAs, companies may still keep your character name vague, they may keep the premise vague, they may only show you your lines without telling you what any of the surrounding lines are. That's what happened. Someone talked about the reason why either Morrowind or Oblivion's lines sounded so strange was because the actors all read their lines alphabetically. They were organized in alphabetical order, and they didn't have any other lines for context. So they were just reading those lines in order without any knowledge. They didn't know what the scene was.
Oh, wow.
So it happens. It happens a lot. So...
Huh. I was going to also ask you, because I'm not sure if you're familiar with the situation with Tales of Vesperia Definitive Edition. So the newer lines, since we now have the Japanese PS3 version localized, they didn't bring back Troy Baker for Yuri, and they got another actor to voice Yuri in the new skits and the new cut scenes and for a lot of the new stuff. And it's like, I was wondering, like, and maybe you do or don't have insight as to, like, if you're doing a role for a character, do you get royalties for it, or do they own?
Royalties will typically only happen in two cases. If it's a show picked up for syndication, like if you think of Seinfeld or Friends, or if it's a radio or other commercial which are paid in cycles. Like when I do a national broadcast commercial, I get paid for the session plus the first 13 weeks of that spot airing. And then after that, if the company wants to air it another 13 weeks, they have to pay the cycle fee, which is, it's that, you know, let's say the cycle fee for, let's say I do a national spot, the session fee is $1,000 and the cycle fee is $1,500. This is, I'm just throwing numbers out there, so don't take this to mean industry rates.
Okay.
The $1,000 is a one-time fee. The $1,500 is for the first 13 weeks of it airing, and if they want to air it another 13 weeks after that, they pay another $1,500. Now, sometimes there are discounts, like if they say we're going to buy, you know, a year's worth of broadcast up front, usually there will be like a 10, 20, 25% discount off of that. But that's the only time that you will get royalties in that sense, in that you haven't done any additional work, but because it's being used again, they're paying you more money.
Oh, okay.
It can also come in cases like if your voices from a show are taken direct from that session and put into a toy line, then you are owed royalties every time one of those toys are sold. And there was actually a famous case that we learned about where a company had tried to hide the fact that they had lifted a guy's voice from a show that he did for a toy line, and he ended up obviously winning the lawsuit. And that's important because he had gotten paid about, I want to say maybe 10, 20 grand off of the show that he did the voices for. The toy royalties were worth $600,000.
Wow.
Yep.
Whoa.
Yep. Royalties can pay an awful lot.
My goodness.
So if you're going to get into this industry, know your rights and know how payments work and keep track of what you're owed, because most companies are good companies, but some people will try and cut corners. And if they can skimp $2,000 off the bottom line because you forgot that they're only supposed to air a certain spot until April, that's on you, dude. Like, you gotta keep on top of this.
Goodness. See, I didn't even know all that. Thank you for sharing that.
Yep.
Oof. It seems like it can be, I mean, aside from being fun, it sounds like the business aspect of voice
It is a business.
Can be...
Go
ahead. No, go ahead.
No, that I was just agreeing. I was saying, yep, it's a business.
I was going to say it seems like it can be very, very cutthroat at times.
And it's very self-driven as well. Like, people say, oh my God, you've done so much in the last year, and I'm very grateful for that. I actually also think I'm starting to slip or starting to coast or starting to fall behind because there's so much stuff that I need to update. I should update my website. I definitely should update my demos. I could stand to be taking more workshops. I've done a lot, and it still doesn't feel like I'm doing enough. And that's a lot. That's a time commitment. That's a money commitment. It can be I'm trying to think of the word. It can be super stressful because this is also an industry where you only hear back from the client if you get cast. So 99% of the time, which is how often I don't get cast, I don't know if I submitted a really good take and it just wasn't exactly what they were looking for, or if I submitted a great character choice, but it sounded too similar to a different character, so they couldn't cast me because it would have been confusing, or if I submitted straight garbage, or if I completely missed what they were going for, and I need to improve myself. You often don't find out unless you pay several $100s for a workshop to practice, and it's really rough. It's super stressful.
Wow. My goodness. I see, and all the voice actors I've had on, I've never been able to get to like that level of the rub of it, the reality. Thank you for sharing that, man. That's a stress that, like, how do you deal with that? Like, how do you
Crying, sleeping. No, it's part of it is just sticking at it. It's recognizing that there will be future opportunities. It's asking yourself how much you value it. It's a common thing that's said is if you would rather be doing anything else at all, go do that instead. And it's true. And there are days when I get so frustrated that I tell myself, am I even in the right career? Should I even be doing this? And there are days when what keeps me in it is just the knowledge that there are projects. I think I said this early on. There are projects I don't even know about yet because they don't even exist. Mm-hmm. And if I don't continue pursuing voiceover, I may not get the opportunity to be a part of those projects. Being out in California, when I talk about how I got involved with Breath of the Wild, the notice for Breath of the Wild didn't come from the company that was dubbing it. It came from Bang Zoom. Bang Zoom reached out and said, a friend of ours or a client, a sister client of ours is looking for non-union voices for a video game. Mm-hmm. If you are interested in receiving audition sides, contact this email that we're listing here for more information. So if I hadn't worked for Bang Zoom at all in the past on their projects, I probably would have never gotten that notice about what Formosa Studios was doing for Breath of the Wild. So that was my connection. And I think about that, and I think of all the opportunities I have yet to even get a chance at. And that excitement, that mystery of, hey, if I did everything that I've done in the last 5 years, imagine how good I could be, how skilled I could be in the next 5 to 10 years if I continue applying myself. Mm-hmm. That's incredibly exciting. And that's what keeps me reminding myself that there will always be more, and that there will always be more chances, there will always be more opportunities, and as long as I continue training myself, there's no limit to what I may find myself being a part of.
Man, and you know, you are definitely successful. You will continue to be successful. I will never take that as a guarantee, but I promise you that I will do my best to make it my future. Well, you said earlier the keys to success, remember?
Yeah,
it is very true.
There's three parts. There's 3 parts, remember. I said preparation plus opportunity plus a little bit of luck. And I only have control over one of those. So that is the part that I will focus on.
Definitely. Well, I guess the last question about Revali would be like how did you get into the mindset of the character, and also like given that Revali is actually a lot like Star Fox's Falco, you know, beyond the visual aesthetics, their personalities and mannerisms, like how did you manage that dynamic? And if potentially there is a new Star Fox game in the pipeline, would you want to portray Falco?
A lot of questions to handle. So first of all, Revali was very stressful for me. I don't want to be that guy who's like, go check out the Facebook post if you want the answers, so I'll still detail it here. But for the full answer, I highly recommend that people check out a Facebook post that I made back in March of 2017 when the game first came out, where I talked about, I think I said it was on Facebook, I'm running ahead of my brain here, where I talked about the audition and recording and the casting process and what I felt, you know, both for the audition, the callback, the actual recording. I go really in depth into each of the characters, what they meant to me, what the process meant to me, and I think you will get a better answer there than what I can potentially provide on this podcast.
Okay.
With that being said, Revali was very stressful for me because I thought he was a character that I fell in love with instantly. I connected with him more than any of the other characters in that game. And so I thought I was going to understand him and be able to portray him more quickly and more efficiently than any of my other roles. It was the opposite. I had an idea in mind, but it wasn't what Nintendo of America wanted to portray the character as in English. So we were starting back from square one, and it was really tough letting go of all of that prep that I had done and starting back over from the first square. I relied very, very heavily on my director to help guide me to where I needed to be. And once I was there, I was confident, but getting there was really tough, to the point where during a break on one of our first days of recording, I actually cried to my mentor over the phone because I was scared that I wasn't going to be able to give this character that I loved so much the authenticity and the quality that he deserved. And it was terrifying. But I treated it as a collaborative effort. I let my director guide me. I taught myself, or I reminded myself, to put aside the fear and just be ready to play. And I'm so grateful that he's been received as positively as he has been, even though I have to equally credit the director. I know that I ultimately had to bring the performance, but I'm telling you, it would not have happened without his guidance to bring me there in the first place.
Okay. Awesome, man. Awesome. And I also want to ask, I only have like 2 more voice actor questions, and we can start to get into gaming and...
well, before you move forward, your other part of your question was, would I want to voice Falco? Obviously, if I can do a voice for any character that the company really wants, sure. That being said, I don't know if I would be the best fit for Falco, just because I do like how he is currently portrayed, and he does have, that little bit of an older, cooler voice, and I don't want it to be something I would have to put on. I want it to sound authentic. So would I be the best fit for Falco? I'm not sure. Would I want to voice Falco? If I can do a believable, enjoyable, quality performance, absolutely.
Okay. Cool. And as far as 2 other series that you're in, one being Persona 5, that game has been an astronomical hit worldwide. Like, especially in your portrayal of Mishima, to me, is amazing. Like, I really love Persona 5. I'm not gonna even just say the Persona series, the Shin Megami Tensei series. Like, I love that franchise, and I think it's been, because of, I guess you could say, like, culture and sensitivity in America over the last 20 years, it's been unable to really hit the stride of what it could, like, of hitting the masses the way that Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest. Right?
Like, adults just don't understand how often we go pillaging pyramids for golden goblets. It's a common, that's the millennial life, man. If you don't understand, just go home, man.
Right? And it's like, because I was talking to one of my friends who's really big into Persona, but did not even know that it's a spin-off, or not really a spin-off, it's a side story to... What?
It's Shin Megami Tensei with a Cheeto.
Yeah. And it's like, I was telling them about it, and they're like, oh, well, how does it connect? I'm like, they all connect. All the Persona games, the Devil Summoner games, the what is it, the Last Bible series, the the Soul Hackers series, Megami Tensei, the original one,
right,
and Shin Megami Tensei, they all connect. It's
what about Devil Summoner Kids? What about Devil Kids Dark and Sun version? Do those count? Are those part of the timeline?
They count.
Okay.
Everything. So it's, God, I feel like this is worse than the Zelda timeline. It's like I literally, like, I have an idea of how it all links, and then I went and I watched this YouTube video where the guy broke down how everything, like, okay, Shin Megami Tensei 2 splintered off and created these 2 timelines, but then there's an alternate reality that was created in Shin Megami 1 that created Shin Megami If, which led into Persona 1, which led into what we have now. I'm like, oh my God. But they're all tied together.
That's the difference. That's the difference between the Zelda timeline and the Shin Megami Tensei timeline. Because the Shin Megami Tensei line, everything is linked together. In the Zelda timeline, everything is Link.
Yeah. But it's like, I'm amazed at how Persona 5 has become so mainstream, because I remember Persona 4 was very popular, Persona 3 as well. They never hit the mainstream to the extent that Persona 5 is. If you tell someone, oh, you know who Joker is? Oh yeah, I know who Joker is, from Persona 5.
And Smash.
Yeah. And it's like, are you surprised that the series has
I don't make any assumptions anymore, because when Danganronpa recorded, pretty much the entire cast who recorded thought, oh, this is going to just be some niche, murder mystery RPG, because a lot of Vita games were niche back at the time. And we were like, it's not going to make any big waves, but this is a fun project to record for. We had no idea how big Danganronpa was going to get. I think Tumblr helped contribute to that, just because of all the fan art and like make any assumptions anymore, because even a game can be great because it's huge production quality and gets marketed to hell and back. It can be great because a community just decides to latch onto it, and before you know, it explodes. Like Undertale was an example of a game that I both trusted was going to do well because of the care put into it, and I also knew, because of how easy the characters were to A, relate to, and B, make memes out of, was also going to be big on the community forefront. And so I'm not surprised that Persona did well, but I think that's also because I didn't set myself up to think it would fail. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
But by the time, because Persona 4 did so well, like, I had already heard people talking about Persona 3, even though it wasn't that big. So as soon as I noticed that Persona 4 was doing well enough to get spin-offs, like Atlas, most game companies are not going to localize spin-offs of games unless they are doing well enough to warrant it. Yeah. So the fact that we already had Persona 4 Battle Arena and Persona 4 Ultimax and Persona 4 Golden Edition, clearly they were investing in this franchise, and it was clear that Persona 5 was not going to slow that train at all.
Yeah. And also, The Legend of Heroes, which is another very long-running franchise that's kind of been left niche for a couple, the last decade and a half, but it's actually becoming more recognized, and it's finally getting more exposure, especially here in the West. And a lot of people are surprised to find out it's as old as the Final Fantasy series. Like, what are your thoughts on that? And
I think it's another.
Oh, go ahead.
It's another Fire Emblem case, where it came into the West pretty late in the game. I imagine people who play Toho would be the same way. You got all these games coming out for Toho, then they're like, I want to learn more about this franchise. They're going to learn that it's been like 13 games deep. But now I lost my train of thought. Talking about Legend of Heroes. I attribute a lot of it to the dedication that the team at Falcom had, or has. I don't know what's going on right now regarding if they're localizing Trails of Cold Steel 3. I know there's all that hubbub going on. But when Falcom picked up the games for 1 and 2, a lot of the localization teams said, we want to make this the next Tales of series, We want to give it a lot of love, a lot of attention. We want to make sure that it's as high quality as it can be. We don't want to take the characters of the world or the story lightly. And we want it to be a franchise that people look to and say, if you're going to play a game from this, you should play all of them because it's worth it. And I feel like they did send that message. Between the Crossbell arc and the Cold Steel arc, it's so obvious that it is made or localized by people who are just as passionate about the games as the people who will be playing them. And it was evident for me throughout the entire process, from especially through Brittany Avery, Hatsu, who did a lot of the editing and the localization for it in terms of directing. Whereas in most video games, you'll have just the list of lines and they'll give you context, Brittany was able to bring up the cutscenes within the games. She was able to write notes on the side for every single line about here's the emotional context, here's what happened in the scene before. The only reason I understood Reen as well as I did is because of how thoroughly she understood it, and we were able to truly collaborate. It wasn't her telling me what to do. It was because I had also played Cold Steel 1 before I went in to record for Cold Steel 2, and I'd read up on Cold Steel 1 before I recorded for that game. We were able to just enjoy the game with each other. We were able to enjoy the scenarios and come to an understanding together, and that led to a realistic, genuine performance.
Nice, because you did a really bang-up job with Reen, so Man.
Again, that was also like a case like with Breath of the Wild where it was as much the director's work as it was mine, but that was also a case where I didn't know what I was doing. It was everyone in that office knew how to get the best out of each other, and we were able to do our best because of that.
Awesome, man. Awesome. We're winding down to the last couple questions. I know you have to go soon, but I gotta ask you, man. Because your avatar is Mega Man, Volnut.
Yep.
Is it safe to say you're a Mega Man fan?
I am a fan. The only one where I'm short is on the X series, and that's just because I didn't get around to it in my childhood on time, and my first experience with it was with the Extreme games. But the Classic series, I am knowledgeable with all the way through. The Legends series, I will talk your ear off for days on end. The Battle Network series, I will fight you, sir. If you so much as make the mistake of saying that it's not worth your time. Are you still okay? You backed out for a second, so I didn't know if the call dropped.
No, I'm here.
The Zero series, I played through and hated because of how hard it was, but I respect how difficult it was. And the minute Mega Man got announced for Smash 4, I told myself I was going to make him look good even if he wasn't. And although I wasn't good enough to be one of the top 100 in the world for the game, I was top 3 in the US, and I was the #1 Mega Man player on the West Coast for that character.
Wow. Holy crap. Okay, we're definitely going to get into some Smash Bros. Shortly, because I know we got a lot of Smash fans that...
I'm still adapting to how he plays now in Ultimate, because there is some stuff about him that changed. Majorly his Leaf Shield, which was a huge part of my onstage pressure. So I'm still adapting with him for Ultimate, but he is still my main.
Nice. Now, I'm not going to fight you on Mega Man Battle Network, because I agree with you. I'm the same way. I cherish that. Mega Man Legends. Now that series, I'm waiting for a new entry, and it needs to happen.
I don't think it does. I think the opportunity for it to happen passed, and I am grateful in seeing Mega Man 11. I was so grateful to see that the team that produced it, again, clearly, like the Trails series, was so passionate and knowledgeable about the franchise so that we didn't end up with, Mighty Number 9 with a Cheeto. But
God.
I will bring that back, man. It's my favorite. It's so applicable. But what was being produced, what I saw in the works during Legends 3's development, I was married to. It looked so cool, and it looked so true to form, and I don't know yet. I think the reason why I say what I'm saying is because I don't trust enough yet. Mm-hmm. I don't trust whoever would take the helm of the Legends series to make a true to form Legends 3 game yet, and because I don't trust it, I would rather it just stay where it was, cherished and appreciated, instead of becoming Mega Man Legends sticker star.
Oh, you went there.
I will go there. I know exactly why it went there, and it's because Paper Mario was doing what Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga was already doing, and Nintendo's not a company that wants to double up on genres. They said, okay, well, if Mario RPG already has, the level up mechanics, the learning different skills and stuff like that, we'll have them do that. And so Paper Mario had to become something different. It's just that what it became is not what people wanted, in the same way that when they tried to make Mario Party into a collaborative effort instead of a stabbing each other effort, it kind of lost its...
Mario Party 10 was...
So I understand why they went that direction. I also feel that Mario & Luigi Paper Jam is the first true Paper Mario sequel to come out since Thousand Year Door. So, going back to my point, I don't trust anyone yet to make a Legends 3 that will live up to the immeasurable hype that people have for it by now. Will that change in the future? Maybe. Will I be hurt if they just move on with the franchise and we don't see another Legends game? I'll understand. It had its time. It did. And I am grateful to have been alive during that. In the same way that I never want them to come out with another Battle Network. If you want to make a Battle Network collection game and put that out for 3DS, please do that. But I don't need another Battle Network game. Though the games that exist are great as is, and I would rather you come out with a spiritual sequel like they did with Star Force for the Battle Network series.
Okay, and you know, I guess it means that we got to leave Volnut on the moon then.
I'm okay with that. Basically, the shorthand of it is, I don't want Legends. I want something that will remind me of what Legends was. Okay. So,
I also think we're more likely to get a X9 than we are a Legends.
Probably.
Because I had Benjamin Diskin on here actually 2 days after Mega Man 11 came out, and I think he did a really good job voicing Mega Man and Mega Man 11. And
dude's been on a tear. He's been working really hard.
He really has. I was shocked because the dynamic of his voice playing Bon from Seven Deadly Sins and also Young Ansem was young Xehanort rather. Kingdom Hearts fans, don't kill me for making that mistake. But
it's okay. Kingdom Hearts fans half the time don't even know what's going on either.
It's so true. But you know, the dynamic of his vocal range is just like playing so many different characters is just amazing. I thought he did really good with Mega Man. We finally had someone aside from Corey Sever who actually did the voice justice. So.
I think we've been blessed. I've had people ask, would you ever want to voice Mega Man? And I'm also not sure about that because his representations consistently have been so good. Corey Sever was a perfect, youthful, mean-to-do-well Mega Man Volnut. Mark Gatha doesn't even do voiceover anymore, but we are all better off for hearing the intensity and the conviction in his voice as X for Day of Sigma. And Maverick Hunters. God, he did so well. So well. And I'm hoping that if they do more with classic Mega Man, that they bring Diskin back and that he is able to represent him to his best ability, because there's a lot to live up to. But if anyone has put in the work, if you've seen Diskin's recent body of work as Stitch in the animated series, as Baby Gonzo in Muppet Babies, he has the range and he clearly has the talent. So I think they're in good hands.
Yeah, definitely. All right, man. So we got to switch over to Smash Brothers. Go ahead. You're the number one, or the Mega Man player in the West Coast.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll hold for Ultimate. I definitely got to start going to more tournaments and keep that legacy for myself. But I like how Mega Man plays. I like how his projectile-based gameplay makes it easier for me to force others to play my game instead of vice versa. And it's just my boy. I love my boy.
And what about Smash, just draws you into it? Like, what do you love about it? Like, how did you... What's your history with the franchise?
That's a good question. I don't know, to be honest. It was just I had been there since day one of the original Smash Brothers. I wasn't competitive with it until right near the end of Brawl's lifespan. And I'm talking competitive in terms of, I can go online now. I want to see how my Lucas does against other people. And that led me to sites like Anther's Ladder, those matchmaking forum sites. So I didn't really... I was always in this position of, back during Brawl, being too good for my friends, but not good enough for competitive players. So I told myself when Smash 4 comes out, as soon as it had been announced, I was like, I want to be more competitive. I want to actually, go to tournaments. I want to see how good I can be with this game. So at that point, it kind of shifted from just being familiar with Smash Bros. To this desire of wanting to be in the competitive community at the start instead of at the very end like I was with Brawl. I felt like I had missed out. So when Mega Man got announced, I was like, oh my god, here's this perfect character for me that I'm in love with. I can see if I can be good with him. It was just a lot of small elements all coming together at the perfect time. I don't know if I would have been as competitive with Smash 4 if I had missed out on Brawl entirely, or if I had come in the middle and just kind of burned out. But it was because I had that lingering of desire of, I haven't really felt the competitive scene yet. I want to see how I can do on Smash 4. I feel like that helped serve as a catalyst, and then the catalyst combined with having a character show up for the first time that I was in love with, and the fact that I was familiar with the game, there were equal parts of newness and familiarity that led me to they all came together at just the right time, and that made me jump into Smash 4 full bore.
Cool. And with Smash Ultimate, how are you liking that game so far, like overall?
I think it's really crisp. I appreciate the faster pace. Obviously, there are some aspects that frustrate me because there's guaranteed punishes on characters that I used to be able to do that now is not always a guarantee. Again, a huge part of my playstyle of Mega Man has now been rendered pointless because he used to be able to grab out of his leaf shield, but now he can't do that. So I have to completely change how I play on a fundamental level. So it's equal parts learning, equal parts familiarity, but I'm just happy that everyone is there. I'm happy that there are so many different options. I honestly think if I only main Mega Man, I'll be limiting myself. It's just fun. It's fun, and I'm glad that I'm having fun.
Awesome. Well, if you ever come, not if, when we're gonna say that when you come out here to Hawaii, we do have a lot of huge Smash Brothers tournaments.
Yeah, Void. I think Void was a Hawaii native, wasn't he?
Yeah.
CLG Void.
Yeah.
And now he was Sheik in Smash 4. He lived in SoCal for the longest time, and now he is destroying people as Pichu in Smash Ultimate. Just so good. Did Zero Gonzalo Barros, did he spend any time in Hawaii, or was he always Mexico SoCal?
I think he spent some time out here too. Yeah.
Okay, I vaguely remember that he went out there for some time, but yeah, being in that's also part of what helped. Is by the time Smash 4 came out, I was living in Southern California, so I was right in the thick of one of the most intense scenes. The only reason why I'm as good with Mega Man as I am is because I had to be to survive more than 2 matches against SoCal locals. There's someone named Jesus Antonio, Master Mario. He was a Mario main who started maybe a year and a half ago, and now he is easily in like the power rankings for Southern California because he refined that character so well that he just came out of nowhere and started destroying people. You can't sleep on anyone in SoCal because give them 3-6 months, they could be stomping all over you with characters you otherwise didn't see in tournaments.
Wow, that's... Man, okay, so I need to up my game so I can be on the level with you guys. Because I main Zelda
right.
with my 2 backups are Shulk and Richter Belmont. So.
Zelda is way better in Ultimate. She is significantly better. So she's a beast. Yeah, it's not a bad choice.
Definitely. And, okay, so winding down to the last 2 questions, I'll just say this, though. When you are out here, definitely come to Video Gamers Hawaii or VGH 808. We have a lot of tournaments weekly. We have weeklies every Thursday. This past Thursday, well, not Thursday, what's today? Today's Sunday. This past Saturday, we actually had a Smash Brothers tournament. Massive turnout. Massive statewide turnout. So shout out to Keith Lemos, a good friend of mine. He runs it. Anytime you're out here and you want to go to a Smash event, let us know. You'd love it.
Oh, dude, I do that at my conventions too. Besides Dine and Discuss, I also have one called Smash for Cash, which is literally if you play against me in front of the entire audience, and if you manage to beat me in Smash, I give you $10 or $20. And I've done this about 4 times across my convention visits so far, easily over 120 something matches. And I'm trying to think. I have nope, not yet. I have not lost any money to any people who attend that panel so far.
Wow.
There were 2 times I lost and donated money. One with my main, I should say, because one of them I said, hey, because the way I do it is if they lose and they donate like $5, they can get a rematch. But if they donate $10, they can rematch and force me to play as random, and that kind of gives them a better chance. And so there was one time that I lost playing as Sonic against someone's Mewtwo when they donated to have me play random, and then there was a time when we played the match and we unlocked Game & Watch, but I died to Game & Watch during the CPU battle, so.
The CPUs are no joke in Ultimate before that patch.
So I donated the money then, but I have not lost yet playing as my main at any of those Smash for Cash competitions.
Cool. We definitely love to have you at our scene out here, man. And I have to say, like, I'm basically this question I'm going to consolidate. Like, do you ever, like, when it comes to like anime or film studios or gaming companies or even other voice actors, do you get to work directly with them?
Obviously with studios we work, so I can see why you asked that. So for example, Breath of the Wild, produced by Nintendo, I did not record at Nintendo's headquarters or at one of their offices. Formosa Group was the recording post-production company that handled the voiceover, and I recorded with the directors and people at Formosa. There was a Nintendo rep or two to make sure that the character was being performed the way they wanted, that the context were being understood, to provide any answers regarding, game terms and stuff like that. But it was the Nintendo rep outside of one of their offices rather than, oh, I'm the one going to the big head honcho. And then in terms of actors, almost always, unless it's an Western cartoon animation, you will almost always have the actors recording separately. So like for Trails of Cold Steel, Rien Schwarzer, I had my own recording sessions. Ben Diskin as his character, he had his own recording sessions. I think it's Eustace? Yes, Eustace Alberea. Edward Bosco as his character, he had his own recording session. It was all excuse me.
Bless you.
It was all independent. It was all on their own. Okay. So just them and the director and the recording engineer. Yeah, that kind of setup.
Okay, cool. And last question, and kind of another condensed one, but what advice would you give to fans and the audience here that would love to get into voice acting as well?
Number one. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Get voice acting as well as?
I guess the other one is like, what projects would you like to work on if given the opportunity? But go ahead.
Sorry, that was me being like, you're cutting him off again. Let him finish.
No worries.
All right, for those getting into voice acting, 1, iwanttobeavoiceactor.com. 1A, voiceacting.proboards.com. C, 1B, voiceactingmastery.com. Of those 3, iwanttobeavoiceactor.com is D. Bradley Baker's website. Details so much about the industry, from demos to practicing to how do I know when I'm ready to agencies, both amateur and professional. You should basically not be asking any other questions until you've read that entire website, and I mean that. Because chances are super high whatever you were going to ask, he's written about it on there. And D. Baker is the creature voices guy. He has been in more projects as creatures than you can possibly understand or comprehend. So when I say read his website first, I mean it. Voice Acting Mastery is Crispin Freeman's podcast. Crispin Freeman you've heard as one of the Uchiha clan in Naruto. You've probably heard him as Winston in Overwatch. He is an ongoing, constantly working professional, and he has a podcast similar to this one where he interviews voice actors and kind of gets their behind the scenes, their processes, their routines, their mentalities when performing. It's a great way to learn about the different paths that so many different actors and actresses took, and to help use that information to find, well, what's my path in the industry? What's working best for me? And he also has workshops that he hosts in Southern California, as well as online workshops. So it's a combined research/practice website for you to go to. Voice Acting Club via voiceacting.proboards. Is it .com? Give me a sec. I'm going to look this up.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It is voiceacting.boards.net. But it's if you Google search Voice Acting Club, it will be the first search result. Voice Acting Club is the most comprehensive amateur/professional voiceover collaboration site in existence right now. It actually started, it was already there when I started back in 2007. I don't know how long it's been around in total. But many people like me who started out on that site now help moderate the site. Kira Buckland started out there, who's the voice of 2B in Nier Automata, who's a voice of Talim in the new Soul Calibur. She's in so many projects, and she's now like the administrator of that site, if she wasn't to begin with. And it has an equal mix. It's got, if you are a Newgrounds animator who's looking for casting, Freedom Planet, which has its sequel coming out sometime soon. They cast for the first game off of the Voice Acting Club website. Winds of Change from Clace that I mentioned early on, he also did his casting through Voice Acting Club. So both if you're looking to practice and do unpaid stuff just to build up your portfolio, or if you're looking to do paid professional jobs, there are both on there. And Voice Acting Club prides itself because unlike other casting sites out there of this nature, I don't mean like pay-to-play sites like Voice123, I mean, you know, I don't want to say amateur, practicing websites. Voice Acting Club does not allow fan dubs. And fan dubs are fine with learning how to match lip flaps. When it comes to building your own character repertoire, you're not going to learn much from copying performances that other actors already did. So Voice Acting Club is great for original animations, original projects, indie games, stop motion, all these different mediums. But it is probably the only site I can think of that exists right now that is great for that purpose. We did also used to have Voice Acting Alliance, but it's not around anymore, so it's not worth bringing up. So those three sites, those are the three that you should go to and start being involved with if you are serious about wanting to get into voiceover. And understand that it's going to take time. I mean, it was 3 full years of me dabbling in voiceover before I got my first paid job, and I still didn't consider myself a professional until I went full-time in 2013. That was 6-7 years of doing this. Before I felt comfortable enough to get paid for it. And even then, even though I'm impressed with what I've done in the 5 years since I moved out to California, people have to remember, Revali happened after 10 years, and I still think that's super fast. I am amazed that I got something like that in the time that I've been out here. So yeah. And then, so that answers that question of if I want to get into voiceover. And then your question about what kind of role would I want to do?
Yeah.
I'm going to cop out. I'm going to say I don't like to answer that question because I am... we didn't touch on this with Mishima, but part of why I was confident in my performance with Mishima is because I was able to identify with him. And that's not all good, because a big part of Mishima's character arc is that he grows envious of the Phantom Thieves being able to do all these cool things and have these adventures that he's not really able to go on. Not necessarily because they won't let him, but because he's not capable. He doesn't have those special powers. And especially as I was developing in my career, there were times, and there still are times, where I can get green-eyed when I see these cool things that my colleagues are performing in, and I want to know, you know, did I not do the right thing in my audition? You know, did I do something to piss off a client? When there's so much you don't know, it can be really hard to fight the urge to want to know, even though you're not entitled to that information. And I need to make sure that I keep the mindset of being grateful for what I do get to do instead of yearning after the roles and the projects that I don't get to do. That's really what it boils down to, is I would rather be able to reflect on what I have done that I'm super proud about than talk about, oh, well, I haven't gotten to do this yet and I wish I could have been a part of this franchise. It lends itself to negative thinking, and I'm very scared of that. I don't want to become that kind of person. So I will say this. I am a huge fan of dungeon crawlers, and I'm really proud of the fact that I got to be part of Zonky Zero, which is coming out later this year. There's a role coming up that I can't talk about yet that I think is going to throw a lot of people for a loop, because it features a voice type from me that no one has ever heard before. And it was very challenging, but I was able to pull it off, and I want to see what people think of that. And I hope that people will check out ReZero Part 2 when it comes out in February. I'm really upset that it got marred so much by the DVD quality issues. And I'm hoping it gets picked up for something like Toonami so that it can be broadcast to more people, even though, again, I'm not entitled to anything. It's not a guarantee. But a lot of people who know the show were curious about how certain episodes would sound, because they were very powerful episodes in the Japanese performance. And now that we're finally going to get to hear it in some capacity, I A, hope people will check it out, and B, hope that they will find that my performance matched the intensity and the authenticity and the quality of the original Japanese. I know how good the original show was revered, or how much it was revered, and I feel confident that I was able to match that. So now I want to see what others think as well.
Awesome. Awesome. But I lied. I have one last question for you.
Okay.
Did you have fun?
Did I have fun with what? This podcast?
Yes. This interview.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm an artiste, okay? I'm already naturally an attention whore. And so the fact that I got to talk about myself for... How long have we been on this call for?
Almost 2 hours.
Jiminy crickets. Even I would get sick of me after that. But gonna have to... Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, no, that was fun. I enjoyed the questions. I enjoyed your open-mindedness. You were really chill to talk to. Now I'm going to hold you to it, because now I'm freaking hungry, and these waffles are not going to sate my hunger as much as that cookout would be. So, and I make it easy for people too. On my Twitter, my pinned tweet is my convention sizzler that has like my resume. It's got the panels that I offer. You can just send that straight off to anyone who'd be interested, and they already have an idea of what I can offer. So thank you, first of all, if you do pitch me to any conventions or send me any info. But I would love to come and foodie with you. I really would.
Okay, so I'm definitely going to reach out to the people that run the amazing Comic-Con out here, since we have it coming up. And yeah, when you get out here, we're going to go eat. There's a lot of places I'm going to take you. So, yeah, man, again, thank you so much for coming on the Kasanova podcast. It is truly an honor. I've enjoyed... It doesn't even feel like it's been almost 2 hours, but right? I really enjoy it, because I'm all about this. I love talking to people, and this was so organic of a conversation. I just love it. Thank
you. I appreciate it. The only reason I know it's been probably close to 2 hours is because my throat is feeling it right now. It's like, I need water. I need food.
All right. Well, and people, make sure you go and you follow Sean on his social media. I'll leave links
here.
Oh, go ahead.
What I tell people is, if you want my behind the scenes like reality posts, follow my Facebook. Don't friend, follow, because I try to. There's been issues with like robot accounts on Facebook recently, so I don't add people unless I actually know them. So Facebook for real behind the scenes stuff, reflective posts. If you want announcements, raffles, giveaways, general stuff, follow my Twitter. Twitter is definitely where most of my content goes. And then I was gonna say if you want my shit posts, go to Tumblr, but Tumblr's kind of become a shit post. So.
Oh, man. So links, everything will be definitely down in the description below, so make sure you go and give them a follow. And with that being said, anything you want to leave the audience with?
Be good to yourself, and I mean that both in terms of what you eat and what you drink, as well as being good to yourself mentally. Never underestimate the value of good company. As an introvert, I'm saying this. And stay hungry. And what I mean by that is whatever career you're in, whatever you're pursuing, do take time to reflect on what you've accomplished, but always keep yourself just a little bit hungry and a little bit wanting, because it is that desire to accomplish something new, that desire to achieve something that will keep you pushing on. And it's the same for me in Smash as it is for my voiceover career. Staying hungry is what keeps me on the road to becoming better. And there's always something new to learn. There's always something new to learn. So be willing to learn and be someone who wants to learn.
Awesome. And folks, you'll be able to catch this podcast also here on youtube.com/Mekel Kasanova. You can also catch it on iTunes, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, Google Play Music, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and soon it's going to be on iHeartRadio, and then also later on this month it will be on Sirius XM Radio. And that is
giving Todd Howard a run for his money here, man.
I'm trying to, you know.
I don't even think Skyrim is on that many different platforms.
I'm definitely trying. But yeah, thank you, Sean, for being on the show. Thank you
for making the time.
Yes, man. Anytime. We're definitely gonna have you back on. We will stay in touch because we got this foodie convention. We're gonna do it.
We're gonna do it.
You're gonna do it. And,
we're gonna do it.
Thank you guys for listening, and we will catch you on the next one. Did you enjoy this episode of the Kasanova Podcast? Well, I hope you did. And if you did, please make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe. And let us know what we can improve upon, what you liked, what you didn't like, and all that good stuff. And just make sure you always have a good time. That being said, this is your boy Mekel Kasanova, Hawaii's favorite YouTuber. I am signing out, and I'll catch you on the next episode.